Hello, friends. Good morning. See, I'm your social science teacher. Today, we are going to discuss a new lesson from uh, geography. See, last year we had discussed a lot of things in geography. And the first lesson in geography, the name of the lesson is Resources and Development. Resources and Development. See, in our classes, 8th standard, we had discussed a lot of things about resources. We all know what is resources. Am I right? See, without resources, we can't develop our economy. That also we had discussed that in the 8th standard. On the basis of knowledge we acquired in these previous standards, can you recall the definition which you learned about resources? Try to recall. Resources are the things which satisfy the needs of human beings, things which is able to satisfy the needs of the human beings. That is the basic and a simple definition we have learned in our 8th standard and some other small classes. I'm sure this year we also start our lesson from geography with another definition. Now we reached in 10th standard, so we have to improve, we have to develop that definition for resources too. Here resources means everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs, provided it is technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable, can be termed as resources. See, the first part of this definition we already heard. 8th standard. Everything available in our environment which is able to, which can be used to satisfy our needs. That is resources. The second part of the definition, some points are added with that definition we had learned earlier. Which are the things we added? Three terms. Which are the three terms we added with that definition? First one, technologically accessible. Technologically accessible. That means a resource or a thing which change into resources if it is accessible using the present technology. Is it clear? That is what it really means. Technologically accessible. Then second one is economically feasible. What do you mean by economically feasible? That means the amount or that money which we spent for extracting that resources, how much we spend. Suppose a resource or a thing converted into a resources using a huge amount, then it is not an economic resources. Is it clear? It should be feasible manner of economic. Economically, it should be feasible. Then final term, that is another important point which added with the existing definition. That is, it should be culturally acceptable. See, every place or every region in the world have its own culture, right? India, we have a culture, a great culture, I like that every territory or every region, every place, every country, everywhere have their own culture. That resources should be culturally acceptable. Suppose if we have a thing, but it is not fit for our culture, then it is no use. We can't use that thing in the society. See, these are the three terms which we added with our pre-existing definition. First thing, technologically accessible. Second, economically feasible. Third is culturally accessible. Once again, can you can you recollect that definition once again? Everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs, provided it is technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable, can be termed as resources. This is the definition we have to discuss, and you should study this definition for further travel, further journey. You should keep this simple definition. It is not so much simple. This is an apt definition for resources. You should keep in your mind. Clear? Next, one of the important question related to resources. All the resources which are available in the nature are free gift or not? Is it free gift of nature? It's not completely a free gift. Then what made that resources a, or what made a common natural material into a resources? That function is done by human beings. Without human beings, everything, without human beings, everything which is available in the environment or our nature, it should remain just a material thing or a material good. It will never act as a resources. Take an example. We know fuel. Which fuel we used lot? Petroleum. Byproduct, petrol, diesel, kerosene, lot of things we used. These fuels are known as fossil fuels. Am I right? We know how that fossil fuels are formed. In our small classes we had discussed. Then my question, no human beings are there in the environment, in the nature, in the world. Then the fossil fuels have any use? Any animal which is using fossil fuel? Any plant which is consume fossil fuels? Any other living thing which collect fossil fuels from or under earth? No one. That means it's just a liquid without human beings. That means a natural material which converted into a resource only because of the function which is done by human beings. That means human beings are one of the very important component in resources. Clear? That is the role of human beings. Is it clear? Then next, then definition we have learned, and the human role of human beings to convert material things into or natural things into resources also we have discussed. I think the things are very clear to you. Only two things we discussed here. Then next, what are the types of resources? That is also we have to say or we have to discuss here. Just to list out that, first of all, we have to list out which are the different types of resources and which are the criterions used to divide it or classify resources. which are the types of resources, and which are the criterions used to classify resources. First, based on origin. Origin, you know what is origin? Formation. Based on the way of formation. Based on origin, we can divide resources into two: biotic resources and abiotic resources. See clear? First category of resources, that is resources based on origin. We can divide our resources into two broad divisions. They are biotic and abiotic resources. The second classification or second division is, here it is criteria is exhaustibility. Based on the exhaustibility, we can divide our resources into two: renewable resources and non-renewable resources. Renewable and non-renewable resources, we can go in detail in the next module. This module we just list out. Second criteria is exhaustibility, the nature of exhaustibility. What do you mean by exhaustibility? Exhaust, what is exhaust? The nature of emptying. That means when we use a thing, it is going into zero. That is exhaustibility. See here, based on exhaustibility, we can divide our resources into two. Which are they? They are renewable and non-renewable resources. Next criteria is based on ownership. You know what is ownership? Who own that resources? That is ownership. We can divide the resources into few. Which are they? First of all, individual resources. Individual resources. Then second one, community resources. Individually owned resources, community owned resources, national resources, and finally international resources. See, which are they? Based on the ownership, we can divide the resources into four. First of all, individual resources. Second one, that is community resources. Third one, national resources. Finally, international resources. Then finally, on the basis of status of development. What is the status of development? How much development that resources achieved? Is it clear? Based on the status of development, again we can divide resources into few. Which are they? First of all, potential resources. Potential resources. Second is developed resources. Developed resources and stock resources, and finally reserve resources. Is it clear? Potential, developed, stock, and reserve. Which are the different types of resources we have discussed here? First of all, based on origin, biotic resources and abiotic resources. Second one is based on the nature of exhaustibility. Again, we can divide resources into two. They are renewable and non-renewable resources. Next criterion we used to divide resources, that is ownership. Based on ownership, we can divide resources into four. They are individual resources, community resources, national resources, and international resources. Finally, based on the status of development, we can again classify resources into four. They are developed resources, first of all potential resources, second one developed resources, stock resource, and finally reserve resources. See, that's it from the first module. Thank you.